just either a slightly different from what they are, we talk, we see things are not normal.
Welcome to Strange Familiars. I got an email from Apple today. Apple or iTunes, I'm not sure which it was. In any case, they're changing the way that they present podcasts or something like this. And they said we're no longer allowed to put episode numbers in the title. And there's a whole bunch of other rules they came out with that has to do with metadata, and that's all the stuff like the title, the description, this and that. They don't want things to repeat too much. They have all these rules. The major one that affects Strange Familiars, I think, is no episode number in the title. And this applies to previously published shows and ongoing shows. So
great. When would we ever need to use a number?
I had to go back through 74 episodes and take the episode number out of the title today. I put it in the description. I hope that's okay with Apple. Mm. If it's not, I'm going to have to change it again. Because
how are we going to go do our show on the number 23 now?
Most of our listeners are listening through Apple. You can see the breakdown on our statistics through Podbean.
Yeah.
Most people get the show through Apple or iTunes. So we got to do it their way. We have no choice. But I'm mentioning this because if Strange Familiar stops popping up on iTunes for whatever reason, since most of our listeners are using that application, to listen, please let us know, because it means I did something goofy with the metadata. I don't understand the rules necessarily. I'm trying to comply because I know they're the big guys and you got to do it their way. Looks like every podcast in the world is going to have to change their format, because I went and looked at just a bunch of popular podcasts.
And they all do it the same way.
They all put the episode number in the title.
It'd be nice if there were a revolt and everyone just said, no, we're not changing this.
I think even Joe Rogan, I think that's the most popular podcast there is, right? Or one of them. He's in the top 5. He puts his episode numbers in his title. So, they're going to force him to change? Like Sasquatch Chronicles puts the episode numbers in the title?
Well, he had a choice between that and being locked in a box with spiders.
I don't listen to the Joe Rogan Experience. I know lots of people do.
Well, wasn't that his big thing? Did he start off he was the host of Fear Factor?
No, he started off on News Radio. Now, don't you forget. In any case, episode numbers out of titles now. So, like I said, I put them in the description. Hopefully,
should we try to say them as we start? Like, hey, this is episode such and such. So maybe that would be helpful.
It's in the episode icon.
Okay.
I put up.
Oh, that's part of the drawing. Yeah.
Yeah,
or whatever the art.
And I put it in the subtitle as well. And I don't know if Apple's going to tell me I can't have the episode number in the subtitle. That's why I'm putting this out there. So if suddenly Strange Familiars isn't on iTunes, shoot us an email, let us know. I'll have to figure out what I'm doing wrong with the metadata.
Yeah. I
just want to make shows.
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy. Because I spent hours and hours today doing this. It's after 11 now.
Yeah.
I try to put up the show at midnight on Thursday. We won't be making that.
But we'll be thinking about the show at midnight.
Because I spent hours today, changing every single episode we've ever done. Mm. Hopefully, like I said, I changed it in the right way. I don't know. So we'll see. We're always at strangefamiliars.com, though. Mm-hmm. So if you're wondering if there is a new episode and you don't see it on whatever podcatcher you're looking at, you can always jump over to strangefamiliars.com and see what the latest episode is. We also have an episode list there that shows the patron episodes and the regular episodes. If you're not a patron, you can see which ones were patron episodes. So tonight's show, I originally edited this Bigfoot account. I interviewed Mo, who is in Texas, but his Bigfoot account was from Pennsylvania. And we will be hearing that. That's going to be the second part of the show.
Yeah, he was one of those guys where, I wasn't sure as the interview started which way it was going to go, but he's one of those people that I'm just so taken by the palpable fear that you can hear in his voice. And I'm like, even though I don't technically believe in Bigfoot, I know this guy saw something, you know? Like,
Right. Yeah, and I think that you've said that, like, that guy came up to us at Albatwitch Day. That guy.
oh, yeah.
Like,
he had an experience. I don't know what it was with, but he had an experience.
Yeah.
And that can't be discounted, yeah.
I was already working on Mo's interview, and then I did this interview with Jade about this Flannel Man that she saw.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to do another Flannel Man so soon. We did a bunch. We did the mirrored Flannel Man. We did the jumping Frenchman. Did a whole other Flannel Man episode after that. And this account is so cool. I can't sit on it. This is my favorite Flannel Man account so far.
So I've been bumped to second place. Actually, it is. It's a much cooler account than mine. I'd trade mine even up for that. I've really gotten quite a bit of an affinity for Flannel Man now.
You know, if
he might be my favorite
weird thing. This is a very positive encounter. It's not a scary one.
No, and I think it helps to sort of underscore some of the things we were talking about, possibilities of what he could represent.
Yeah, and now I'm wondering if there isn't a whole sort of, as Josh would say, like, ecosystem of Flannel Man that range from bad to good, you know, and everything in between. And it's not just...
Oh, you mean the same way that people have a whole range of emotions?
Sure, yeah.
Maybe Flannel Men do.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's a whole range of things, because some, you know, the last episode, that was some pretty creepy stuff, you know?
Yeah, that one was...
The one grinning at her, where she and her daughter saw him at
the
same
yeah,
time.
Yeah, that's like...
That was some creepy stuff. So...
But I also like this idea that he's this guy that's sort of like the intermediary between the wild man and the people.
Yeah, and that's my new theory. See, I'm neck deep in Wild Man because of this book I'm doing with Josh. It's just, and everything's a Wild Man archetype right now to me, because...
And these guys aren't full-fledged, like, I retreated to the woods and didn't talk to anybody and wore the same suit for 40 years. But they are, I only hung out with the same 20 guys, and I was in the woods for 6 months at a time.
You mean lumberjacks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about it on the Belsnickel episode. Santa Claus is a wild man. You know, Belsnickel's a wild man. Odin's a wild man. All these, this wild man archetype is very powerful. Merlin's a wild man. It's embedded in our mythology, in our subconscious, you know, everywhere.
Yeah, but this guy, like, I think there's a little bit of a difference because he doesn't have that sort of wizened, elderly kind of look. This is someone who's still very young and virile.
Flannel Man.
Yeah.
Well, she describes a long gray beard on this guy, Jade, coming up. So again, I think that, you know,
let's hear it from middle-aged Flannel Man.
Might be a range of ages, and, you know, maybe that's why I have an affinity for this particular flannel guy, because of the gray beard. But in any case, yeah, I think he's this in between. I think you have your wild man is your Bigfoot. He's truly wild, and then you have this in between, this lumberjack. He works with trees. He's not quite as wild as the wild man. He's like this intermediary step.
And even though, you know, I was doing a little research on lumberjacks proper, and they do lead this sort of double life in that being a lumberjack is not a full-time job. It was something that people typically did during the winter months, and the rest of the year they were farmers.
Oh, interesting.
So they're both sowing and hewing.
Yeah.
Reaping. Yeah. They're kind of the full gamut of the human experience.
Well, that sort of ties in with Jade's account. Let's just go and
we'll
get
it's
to
a
Jade's
really good
account.
story.
It's a long episode. We'll get into Jade's account, and we'll be back after that. Talking with Jade, who has a pretty unique Flannel Man experience, or at least something in flannel. We'll see if it rates as a Flannel Man or if it's something else. But whatever it is, it's pretty incredible. What year did this happen?
I believe it was 1997, what would make me 12 years old, and Brimson, Minnesota. I don't know if you're familiar with Duluth, Minnesota.
By name only.
But anyways, it's like closer to Lake Superior. I live like 30 miles from Lake Superior.
Okay.
And it was Halloween night. And in my hometown, it's way out in the country. I mean, like, we live 30 miles from town. And there's two town halls. And there's a new hall and then the old hall. And the new hall had the adults and food and stuff for a Halloween party. And the old hall was decked out to be like a haunted hall. You know, it had some weird food to feel, and I don't know, it's kind of black lights and all this stuff. Well, a bunch of us kids had been running back and forth between the halls. They're just like a block apart, and there's a little trail between the two in the woods. And I think we had run through there a couple times that night. And I remember running from the new hall to the old hall, and it was a group of 5 of us. My brother and I are one of our best friends, and these two kids from up here. And this one kid, he tripped over this old metal fence. And when you fall, I mean, we were kind of running, and he fell, and I kind of seen it in like slow motion. He just fell. And then as he like fell, he like looked up, like right in front of him, there was this man standing there in red and black flannel. He had green wool pants on. I mean, he looked like a lumberjack. He had a ginormous beard. He had some kind of goggles or something on his head. I don't remember if he had a hat on, but it was pretty interesting. Being Halloween, I thought instantly that it was our friend's dad, you know, playing tricks on us. Because this man was huge, and my friend's dad was, like, probably the biggest guy I knew at that time. So I went up, I grabbed his beard, and I don't think he said anything, but I could tell it was real, and I think it might have hurt him. I don't know how I knew that, but the next thing you know, he had grabbed my hand. He put pumpkin seeds in my hand, pulled me to the ground, and made me plant them. And I'm trying to remember, but there's no snow this Halloween for whatever reason. And so the ground would have had to have been frozen at least. But I don't remember digging a hole in the ground or whatever. But I planted these, and I don't know how I knew he wanted me to plant them because he didn't say anything this entire time. Like, I don't know if it was before or after he made me plant the seeds. This is kind of like a blur, and it happened kind of suddenly. I know the guys, my brother and our friend, they like grabbed his like night goggles, like some kind of weird goggle thing. And I'm pretty sure that they looked through them and they said they were night goggles or something, night vision. And I remember seeing him standing there, and he had a axe and like a pick. What are those called? Like wood pick thing. So you pick up the logs on his back, like crossed on his back. And I remember saying to Nate, I'm like, "It's your dad." He's like, "No, my dad's at home working on the snowblower or whatever." And I was like, oh, "Okay." So no sooner than that, we can see the road from where we're standing in between the two halls. We could see his dad's truck drive over to the hall, and we were gonna go run and tell him, you know, what we seen or whatever. And I remember his dad getting out of the truck, and he's wearing a bumblebee suit. Like, he had antennas on his head and everything. And, yeah, we went in, and we were trying to tell the adults. Well, anyways, first, so we seen his dad walk into the building. We looked back because we wanted to tell. The guy is, like, gone. And I think he disappeared as fast as he, like, appeared out of nowhere. I mean, these woods, there's not, like, a lot of brush. There's, like, big, tall pine trees. We could see a ways, you know, in the woods. It's not like a normal person. You would see him walking away, but we didn't see any of that. But it seemed like the parents and the adults kind of just blew us off, you know. And something that just stick in my head all this time. I've told a few people, but nobody's ever made anything of my story. I've always kind of thought I was crazy or whatever, but something about it is just, odd.
Right.
It's just something to remember that just vividly sticks in, my mind.
So how, if you had to guess, I know you were a kid and everybody looks taller when you're a kid, but how tall would you guess he was?
I'm thinking like closer to like 7 feet tall, maybe.
Wow.
I'm thinking about my husband now, and he's like 6'3", and I know for a fact he was bigger than my husband. And when we seen Nate's dad, which I thought was big, he was definitely, maybe 4 inches taller so 6'2" to, his dad had to be 6'2", 6'3", something in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was pretty big, and I don't understand how I knew what he wanted when he put pumpkin seeds in my hand.
Yeah, that's strange. I want to get back to that, but I have more questions about his appearance. So, how long was his beard? Did it go down to his chest, or?
Yeah, his beard went down to his chest, and it was like gray. I, for the life of me, cannot remember his face. Like, I don't remember a face, and I'm a face person. I can't recall his face. And something else that is something to me is I remember hands, like what people's hands look like. I don't know, I always look at people's hands, and I don't remember his hands either, which is odd to me. It's just kind of like nothing there. And I grabbed his beard. You'd think I would know.
Yeah. That's so it felt like just like grabbing somebody's beard. It didn't feel weird or anything.
Yeah. No, it felt just like a beard, and when you tug, you felt there's resistance. Like it's real.
The goggles, did they look out of place? Did they seem like they were more like, I know somebody said night vision goggles. Did they look like they were kind of some kind of high tech thing, or?
No, they look like an old, if you ask me, like, I've seen some old, like, welding goggles or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they look like to me. It looked like an old scientist something. Kind of weird. I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
I think they were, like, metal.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So when he sort of put these pumpkin seeds in your hand, did he push your hand to the ground, or did you say you just kind of knew that's what he wanted you to do, or?
No, he put these pumpkin seeds in my hand and kind of pulled my hand down, and I think I said to my friends, like, look at this pumpkin seeds, haha, and I kind of remember, like, burying them in what I could, because I think the ground was pretty frozen.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no snow.
Did you, and this is a weird question, but did you ever go back and see if anything grew there?
No, I don't know. I didn't. And it's not very far from my home. And no, I didn't. And we didn't even really talk about it much for years. I told a couple people, probably not until like at least 10 years later, I was telling people, and I had asked my brother if he remembered, and I told the story. And then just recently, like before I even heard of this Flannel Man, because I always called it kind of like a lumberjack,
mm-hmm.
is what I called it.
Mm-hmm.
I never really thought about it. And then my brother brought it up a couple months ago, and he was telling me he remembered. I think he probably thought he was a little bit nuts too, because I don't think he wanted to admit it at first, like 10 years ago, and then he brought it up. And since I've talked to you, I got a hold of our best friend, and he says to me, he's like, don't tell me you've seen another one of these guys, haha. I'm like, no. Well, I found out it's a thing, and I was telling him about this, and he said, well, I'm curious to know if there's been other sightings. And I'm like, yeah, I shared him your link and everything. So he definitely remembers. I asked him what he remembered. He says, I don't remember much. He's like, I actually forgot about it until you asked. He said, I remember a big burly man standing there in the woods that night.
I call it Flannel Man. Not everybody is seeing the same guy. They're describing different people. Like, I think yours is the first one that's described like a gray beard, which having a gray beard, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it was a big beard, a full big beard.
The axe and the pick, were they kind of like slung over his back?
Yeah, they were like crossed on his back.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you overall get a bad feeling from this experience, or just...
No, which is kind of weird, No, it was just like, what the heck? That's what I've remembered all my life. Like, what was this,
Yeah, just a bizarre kind of thing.
And actually, 5 years ago, we bought this place where we live now, my husband and I, and it's right through the woods. Like, you can literally see the halls through the woods. And I've never, I think about it. I'm still not, like, scared or anything, but I'm just thrilled to know that, or talk to somebody that can, like, make something of this, or...
Yeah, no, this is really, I mean, all of these sightings are really incredible just because it's just so weird that so many people are seeing, different things related to this. Do you think you could, like, find the place in the woods where you met him?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Could I ask you to go and kind of kick the ground around and just see if there's any seeds there? I know it's a long time ago. It's very unlikely, but it would just be very interesting to see what was there.
I definitely could. It would be like a minute walk from here.
Oh, wow. That'd be that. Yeah. I mean, obviously not right now, but you could email me and let me know if you find anything, because that would be very interesting to me if there was just anything there, or if there was. To me, it seems like there's a purpose there, and maybe the purpose was not necessarily him telling you plant things here, but him maybe I'm thinking, was it a message like almost like a Johnny Appleseed kind of thing, like plant stuff,
I definitely know, and I know that I've been through there in recent years, and I know that fence, that metal rotten fence laying on the ground, like a pig wire fence, is still there.
Wow. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I wish I could see it. I've had the opportunity to go out on Sasquatch sightings with people, or to places where they saw a Sasquatch rather, and had their experiences, and it's always really neat to actually be at the place, be there, and have them describe exactly what happened on the spot.
Yeah,
but
I could make you a video.
Oh, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. That'd be amazing.
So after I told my dad, I mean, he never knew what to say. None of these people that I told ever knew what to say about this, and I was telling him about it, and he had said, do you know that the only holiday for a lumberjack is Halloween?
What? Really?
Like, that's what he told me, and he told me to look up lumberjacks, and I just haven't. But that's what he told me, and he's lived out here forever. He would know. And I said, that's odd. Why is that? And I don't know. I don't think he gave me an answer. I don't think he really knew himself. So the woods around my house are kind of like things happen. And, okay, so let me take you back. Like 2 years ago, my husband and I were like 30 miles from our home, and we were on the side of the road, peeing basically. And we got this weird howl scream at us, and it was the most terrifying thing ever. Long story short, we found out Sasquatch Chronicles through my father-in-law. He played us some, like, Michigan howls is exactly kind of what we heard. And ever since then, I kind of, I've always known there's some creepy stuff in my woods, like weird things happen. And what is the most odd is we've lived here for 5 years, and we've cleaned up these woods. There's constantly trees falling, and so we'll cut up these trees and haul them and clean up our woods. The next thing you know, there's all these trees down around us, and it's just never ending. You look in our woods and it looks like a tornado went through. And so I kind of joke like, haha, it's like Sasquatch or something, but I've never seen anything. I've never seen any prints or anything. But, thinking about this Flannel Man and being so close to my house and being a lumberjack, I'm starting to think, like, maybe, it has something to do with it, because there's no storms. These trees are constantly falling around our place.
Well, one of the theories that I mean, we don't really know what this Flannel Man guy is, but one of the theories that we've been kind of playing around with is that it is almost like a bridge between us and the wild men being, perhaps Bigfoot. And then this is like an in-between guy.
Oh.
Because he represents like the wilderness and so forth, that, the lumberjack. I don't know if that's the case or not.
So I'm going to look on my messenger here. My friend Nate, what he said is he was joking around and he said something like, let me look. He says, laugh out loud. Who knows? Maybe it's a human Bigfoot. Laugh out loud. Yeah.
Just to kind of rewind a little bit, did you say you were screamed or howled at after urinating?
Yeah, this was 2 years ago or more. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a thing. So I'm not a hardcore, like, I think there's an ape in the woods guy out there. I think there's something in the woods. I just don't think it's a natural creature. I think it's something far weirder than an ape. I definitely believe they're out there. But one of the things that I've had, and I've actually gone with witnesses who have been screamed at after urinating. So it kind of happens on there frequently. But if you read about what are called woodwights or earth spirits, in the old folklore, they would say, warn them before you pee in the woods and apologize afterwards. Otherwise, you'll upset these wood spirits. So I find it very, very interesting that people are getting screamed at after urinating. Now, the people that do think it's just a gorilla say that they're mad at you for marking their territory, so they have an explanation as well. But I just think it's very, very interesting that it was after urination. That's an important detail, actually.
Wow. Oh, that's how it happened. I mean, we were just on the side of the road, in the middle of nowhere, no restrooms, so we had to. But I was I've grown up in the country and everything, and so I'm not scared of, the woods at night much. But I had this odd feeling. For some reason, I looked at my husband, I'm like, you're going to make us go here, and before I even got out of the truck, and it was loud. Our cousin was in a truck behind us, because we had just gotten a new truck, and he had heard it over the radio.
Wow.
He heard this scream, and we were shaken for a half hour home until we got home.
Wow.
Yeah, it definitely, sparked a huge, interest in, like, Bigfoot, Sasquatch Chronicles, stuff like that, but I never thought I'd make anything of this crazy story when I was 12 years old that I never forgot.
Yeah, I mean, that's both of them are incredibly interesting. The guy in flannel, just because it's become such a big part of my show here, and I'm writing a book on it and so forth, is so interesting to me. And I have to say your account's one of my favorites so far. I did have, I want to say I had somebody else pulling his beard. I know I had somebody touch his boots. One of the first guys I ever talked to, Dave, he said he thought it was his brother. He crawled out of bed. He appeared in his house, and he said he could smell the oil on his leather boots. And he said he had touched his boots. And I swear I'm blanking, but I swear somebody else said they pulled his beard as well. So it's such an interesting detail.
Yeah, to see if he's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was my first reaction, and if you ask me, I was kind of a shy child, stand back. I'm not going to touch a stranger, but for whatever reason, it possessed me to just yank on this man's beard.
Wow.
And I kind of felt sorry immediately, just because of the feel of what I felt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know he didn't say anything, but I know that it was, if you were to pull on any man's beard, that feeling is what I felt. And I can remember the feeling of, his muscle kind of pulling me down. It wasn't, yanking me to the ground. He pulled me to the ground and, like basically with no words told me to plant these seeds. So, I mean, if it was like a bad feeling, I would remember, but it just wasn't.
It's so neat, though. I mean, it's such a neat encounter. I wish I had some clear answers what this guy was. Now, you never saw him again? No, none of you did?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually the case. I mean, you get a couple people who have multiple sightings, but usually people see them once and never again. So
I've never seen anybody in real life like actually dressed like that. So I don't know how. I think probably stories and movies, seeing real life lumberjacks. I seen one guy once wearing wool pants and a flannel shirt, and he was a linesman. He climbed up the telephone poles. And I had told him about my story because his outfit reminded me of this man that I had seen. He thought it was kind of funny. He didn't know what to make of it. You know, of course, he didn't really know what to say. But I'm just thrilled to, I don't know, to share and, no, I don't know. Can't even tell you.
I used to be a telephone man, so I maybe there's some sort of law of attraction going there with me and this stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if did you hear our episode on the jumping Frenchman?
No, I haven't.
You might want to listen because it talks about this population of lumberjacks that had this very strange disease they call jumping Frenchman disease. Do you know if is there a population of like French or French Canadian in that area? Do you know?
No, I think. Oh yeah. My husband's listening here. He said there used to be a logging camp in, like an old CC camp. Is that what you're talking about, Jake? Yeah, CC camp right on our road. Actually, it's by a lake, and there's still the old stone fireplace that remains.
Oh wow!
And it's now like a site. 80 to 100 years ago, they were everywhere around here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would say they're more Finlanders and Germans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most likely. But it wasn't solely the French population, but they said it was these isolated populations of lumberjacks would get this. They called it jumping Frenchmen. It was this weird disease, but they said it was related to trances and so forth. I mean, it would take a whole episode to explain, but you might want to listen to that episode because it's very interesting.
I'll definitely check it out.
It has to do with these isolated populations of lumberjacks that, across Canada and the northern part of America.
Wow.
And possibly related to this Flannel Man stuff. We're not sure, but it's one possible explanation we're working on because this jumping Frenchman syndrome had something to do with like trance-like states these guys would enter, and for some reason it was in these isolated populations of lumberjacks. Wow,
I will definitely check that out. I don't know what to make of it. I listened to the episode 72, I think it is, the last one, and that's how I seen about you in your show. And I was like thinking, I just want to tell my story. I don't even want to hear all these right now, and then I think somebody had said in one of them that I started listening to is like, I don't want to like contaminate my memory kind of thing. And I kind of felt that like from the get-go. Like I remember this for 21 years, but suddenly I feel like I'm going to forget when I want to tell somebody. But yeah, so I'll listen to that. But I was going to ask you, is my encounter the furthest north that you've heard of? Or
the furthest north? It might be. We have them in Michigan. Have a couple in Michigan.
We're north of Michigan, Minnesota.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm going through my head to try to think where the furthest north we have. I don't know if I have one in Canada or not. We might have a Maine and Vermont one. I think I have a Canada interview scheduled, but I don't think I've done it yet. I've taken about 40 of these at this point, 30 to 40 of these. Some have come on the podcast, some haven't. I can't remember everyone specifically, but I think as of so far, you might be the furthest north.
I'm just curious because I heard a couple people, or most of the people the encounters that I've listened to, everybody said jeans, that he was wearing denim, and I know for a fact he was wearing wool, and I was just curious because, being further north, it's colder.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's interesting.
So I was thinking, maybe that's why. And I'm glad that mine was outside, and I had others with, and I wasn't alone.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
because
good.
I have somebody to back me up.
Right,
This
yeah,
is
you can
kinda
confirm
odd.
it. Like, I did see this, right? And, I
Yeah.
mean, the thing with, I mean, not so much when he appears in the house, but I've had a couple with people who've seen him in parks and so forth. I mean, yeah, it could be just a dude, you know, could have just been a dude there, but what a weird situation to see a dude in, you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
This isn't just a dude. I know. Something is odd about this.
I agree with you, but I'm kind of saying what skeptics would say, you know, you just saw a man, et cetera, et cetera.
I think when I walked away from this situation, I kind of felt like, wow, almost like, kind of like, did this really happen? And kind of like, I feel kind of lucky, like it was a sighting or something special, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if it were me, it would be an experience I would treasure, quite honestly. It's generally positive. You know, it didn't frighten you, didn't hurt you, didn't scare you. You got to see something that very few people get to see. And, you know, I don't know what it was connected with, but it doesn't seem like it was evil. It's, you know, if the lesson is plant more stuff, I mean, I think that's overall a good lesson, if that's what he's saying, or plant pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
You know, I whatever it was, he didn't lash out at you after you pulled his beard, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, and I think that's why he came and made me do the seeds, because I'm the one that grabbed onto him first, you know? And he seemed super tolerable of us kids. Like, because I remember my brother and the other guy, at least one of the other guys, like, messing with him, like, taking his goggles or something off or something weird, you know, and he didn't, you know, get mad or, like, push him away or do anything like that. And he kind of, if you ask me, I don't know, I can't remember his face, but if I said if he had, like, an expression to him, it kind of felt like he was kind of, like he just got thrown into the woods and he was just thrown in front of us, like, what do I do? You know, kind of a thing.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, here, plant these seeds for me.
Interesting. That's very, very interesting. Because when my wife saw it, now it appeared in her bedroom, but she said he looked kind of surprised. More surprised that she could see him, I guess. Like, oh, wow. Like,
okay. Did she have a face? Does he have a face? Did she, like, see his eyes or anything?
She said she just remembers the beard. That's all she really remembers.
Really? Okay, because it bugs me to this day, because I'm a face person, and I can tell you I'm a hand person, if that makes sense. Like, I read people's hands.
Oh, no, I understand that, yeah.
And if somebody touched me like that, I would remember a hand, and it's like it wasn't even there.
You don't remember feeling particularly, like, rough or calloused or anything?
Nope. I just feel like the pressure, you know, like when somebody would kind of grab you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting because Allison, my wife, just said she just sort of remembers the beard, kind of like you, I guess. She doesn't much remember the face, but she does remember distinctly feeling like he was, like, sort of surprised to be there or shocked to be caught or shocked that she could see him. In some way, he seemed surprised, not trying to scare her so much. She was scared because he wasn't supposed to be there. But that wasn't the impression she got. Like, he wasn't, like, you know, didn't do anything sinister or anything like that.
Yeah, like, kind of just dumbfounded. Like an innocent, like, what the heck, dumbfounded is what I got out of this.
Yeah, she's shaking her head. Yeah, she completely agrees. Yeah.
It helps me in some way to tell you this and to have, you know, somebody else have this. You know?
I did not necessarily even want this for Strange Familiars when we started talking about it, and it very quickly became something that's like, okay, this is going to be something that we're going to be talking about for a long time. And I mean, we've had a couple kind of creepy and scary Flannel Man things, especially lately, but I really love your account. Like I said, I think it might be my favorite so far. Everything about it's just so neat, and I'm going to feature it in the book as well, as assuming that's okay with you.
That's awesome, and I would love to get your book. I would definitely buy the book.
I'm working on that one. That'll be down the road a little bit, but definitely.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
That's amazing to me.
Thank you so much for telling your story. if there's any follow-ups when you go back to the site and just look around, please let me know.
I will make you a video when I get a chance. I'll either wait till spring or I could go now. I don't know. There's pretty lot of snow up here, but I will make you a video when it's like relative to what the weather conditions, and I will send you a video of the exact spot.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Well, both of them. The story of the Scream was very interesting as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to thank Sasquatch Chronicles or I wouldn't have found you. And, this is just amazing to me. So thank you so much, Tim.
Well, thank you for telling your story, Jade. We love Sasquatch Chronicles. Wes has been great to us. Happy we share listeners with Sasquatch Chronicles. Yes. All right, thank you, Jade. Have a good night.
Thank you, Tim. Bye-bye.
Bye. Strange Familiars is brought to you by our patrons. And of course, we want to thank all of our patrons. You guys make the show possible. Without the patrons, we would not be able to do this. If you'd like to help us make the show, for $3 a month, you can get extra content. We've been doing 2 shows a month. We promise 1 full episode of Strange Familiars a month. February, we did 3. So you never know. We always try to give extra content for our patrons. If you want to go in at a level higher than $3 a month, you can get some physical stuff like stickers or pins or t-shirts.
Books, art.
Yeah, we added a whole bunch of new tiers.
Did you include the tier about having a commercial on the show?
Yeah.
Basically like a sponsorship. Yeah,
you can. There's a sponsorship tier. There's an artwork tier if you want a new piece of my artwork every month. Or just 1 month. If you want to go in for 1 month at that tier and get a piece of artwork and then go down to the $3 tier, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to stay, you could get a new piece of original artwork from me every month for as long as you want to stay in at that level. I'll keep sending you artwork. So there's lots of new tiers. There's lots to look at there at Patreon. It's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. Another way you can help is we have a PayPal.me link in the show notes. If you don't like the idea of a subscription like Patreon, you can do a one-time donation at that PayPal.me link, and that also helps a great deal.
Patrons are pretty much like the seeds that Flannel Man gives you to put in the ground.
Right.
To make the show grow.
They absolutely are. Alright, so now we're going to go to my interview with Mo, who saw something. Well, he saw a Bigfoot. He saw a Bigfoot, but it's not your typical Bigfoot report. It's not unique. It's not that I've never heard this before. I actually have heard this before. This description of this blacker than black kind of Bigfoot creature. Sounds a lot like the way people describe some other things in the paranormal. Shadow people, for instance, and these other things, which is very, very interesting. This starts kind of in the middle. Mo and I were talking, and I realized he was getting into his story. I thought we were just having a casual conversation before the interview started. Mm-hmm. So I kind of hit the record button in the middle there. So it kind of starts in the middle, and then we circle back, and you'll get the whole story. So he kind of tells it twice in a way, but I think you'll pick up on what's going on as it goes here. So without further ado, let's talk to Mo.
I miss the woods. I grew up in the woods and everything, and I flew back. I didn't get to go back this year. Well, in 2017 or 18, I went in 2017, and it's just I got so homesick from I'd go to hunt and stuff. I just miss it. I'll tell you a little bit later. I had a panic attack. Me and my 2 oldest boys. I have a 4-year-old, a 25-year-old, and a 32-year-old.
You're spacing them out. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And a 5-year-old grandson. So, you do the math. I just give people to talk about something, my youngest son's either going to keep me young or kill me. I don't know, one of the two. So, but yeah, me and my boys were hunting, and we're just sitting there, and I heard a knock, and I mean, I heard that sound 1,000 times, but never this loud. This sounded like Babe Ruth hitting like a wooden bat hitting a baseball. And Tim, I had a panic attack like you could not believe. I thought I was having a heart attack. I could not get out of those woods fast enough. We had walkie-talkies, and I told my kids, my back's hurt, we got to go. Don't mess around, we got to go. And I practically ran out of the woods, and that's never happened to me before. Never. And, you know, we were just not where I had the encounter in the 90s or anything like that. But I think just talking about it, and, you know, we tried to go, I found the spot where I had the encounter, but I couldn't bring myself to get out of the car. I just said, okay, I know where it is, let's go. And, you know, my son's like, we came all this way and you're not going to get out. No, let's just go. I don't know why. I think just, you know, listening to everybody, and I read your books, and your books are awesome, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And I just love them. And I don't know, just something. It's like, man, I got to stop thinking about this or something, because, you know, this happened in the 90s, and I've hunted, and I never gave it another thought until I started talking about it. And then stuff's coming back, and then you read and you hear about things that happen to people, and I don't know, everything got to me. And, you know, when I was in the woods, I thought I was going to die. I thought this thing was like right behind me, and of course I just heard that one knock, but it was close, and it was loud. I mean, I've never heard anything that loud before, and sent me to all those feelings that I had when I first saw this thing. It all come back, and I couldn't get out. And I remember, you know, you and I were talking, and I said, "Oh, we're gonna go back. You got to come with us," and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. I want to, but when it come right down to it, Tim, I was scared to death. You know, I think maybe some things are just better left alone. You know, yeah. I don't know. I want to find out. Like I talked to that Randy Harrington and stuff, and he offered me to go out with him and stuff. But I don't know. I want to, but I don't. I think when people start getting into this, especially people with encounters, we get fascinated by it, and we want to learn more and stuff. But then, I don't know. Maybe it's not. And I really feel bad because, you know, I've heard people with really deadly, scary encounters, and this thing was 15 feet in front of us, and the only thing spooky about it was, and I asked my buddy, until I swear, this thing did not have a face. It's not that I didn't see it, because when I talked to my friend about it, he said, Morris, there was nothing there. It was like that predator thing, that something was there, but nothing was there. And because we never talked about it or anything, just maybe once or twice somebody asked us, and I kind of just like, yeah, I didn't see nothing. I kept walking. But yeah, that something, and just the way it moved, it was weird. It's like it almost like it just wasn't touching the ground. You know, I can't explain it. It's like it wasn't real, but it was. It seemed like it wasn't moving real fast, but it covered like 100 yards in 30 to 45 seconds.
Wow!
Just walking. You know, but there's, you know, I don't know if you want me to wait in, but there was when that thing turned its body like to look at us and just kept walking, and we didn't see that face, this feeling of terror come over that I'll never forget. And as soon as I start talking about it, I get really excited, and I start talking real fast. You know, when I'm scared. And honest, I don't know. I didn't know anything about, what do you call that when they say they send off that thing like the tigers do?
Oh, infrasound.
Infrasound. I didn't know anything about that. I had no idea anything about Bigfoot or anything like that. But when that thing turned, both of us had this feeling, and I can't explain it. I can't explain the fear. I've never felt anything like that. You know, I just don't know if it sent something off or what, but there's something more than just an animal. You know, I heard all the woo-woo effect and blah, 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 but, you know, listening to, like, some of the people on your podcast, there's something more. I don't know what it is, but there's something. This isn't just an animal. There's something paranormal about it. And I didn't believe in ghosts. I didn't believe anything paranormal. I thought it was all BS and stuff. But I have to admit, now that I'm thinking about it, we saw something that wasn't just an animal. And I don't know how to explain it to you or anybody else, because I don't know what it is, but it's something. I know what I saw. Nobody's going to tell me that I didn't see it, because the thing was like 15 feet in front of us. I know, and the sheer size of this, as soon as I saw it coming out on the thing, you knew it wasn't a man. There's no man that big. And it wasn't like Hulk big, but you could see it was big, you know. And the more I listened to everybody talk, I kind of think maybe I'm just grabbing straws, but it may be out. From what I've heard, I'm thinking maybe it might have been like a young adult male, you know, because it wasn't the massive, but it was big. Yeah, it was big. Oh my gosh, it was a big. But it didn't have the muscles like I hear everybody explaining, and you know. But I feel weird because there wasn't a face, and I don't hear anybody saying they're describing a face. And honest, Tim, I mean, that far away, I'd have seen a face if there was a face. But I could see me freaking out because I really did. But if my buddy didn't see it that close, and he says there was not a face, there wasn't a face.
Right.
You know, I didn't imagine all this. Two people can't imagine the same exact thing.
Well, let's step back, and we'll go to that day, I suppose. What year was this?
It was, I'm not sure the exact year. It's early 90s. I'm thinking like 92 or 93, something right around in there. I'm not sure the exact year, but it's right around it, within a year or two of that.
And about how old were you at that time?
I would say I was probably around 32, 33, something like that.
Experienced hunter?
Yes, yeah. Ever since, I don't remember the first time I wasn't in the woods. I grew up in the woods.
So this is western Pennsylvania, where this happened?
Yes, it's right outside of New Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It's just a little tiny village called Truittsburg. It's just about 7 or 8 miles off of Route 66, between going from New Bethlehem to like Cook's Forest.
Do they have elk there?
No.
Do they have bear there?
Yes.
Did you hunt bear, or were you just...
Yes. I never got one, but I've hunted, and the spot where we hunted, we've seen a lot of bear run through there.
I'm asking because this is one thing people always ask. Well, you know, or say, well, you saw a bear. I'm not saying that's what you saw, but obviously I want to cover that.
This was 3 or 4 times bigger than the largest bear I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And right past us during hunting season, they were spooked, and they're just running everywhere. We've had them, you know, run 20, 30 feet in front of us and just keep on running. As soon as they see it, they take off. This was bipedal. It was standing up and 7 to 8 foot tall, 15 feet in front of our vehicle, and you can't mistake it. Sheer size of this, just unbelievable.
So what were you doing?
It wasn't massive like Hulk, but it was big. You know, it didn't have like the huge chest and stuff, but the arms and stuff were just as big. But the legs looked real short for some reason. I remember that. The legs looked short, but the rest of the body, I mean, when it stepped out of the woods from left to right, it was just massive. I could not believe the size.
What were you doing when you saw it?
It was the Saturday before deer season, and, you know, in Pennsylvania, that's like a holiday, and we always hunted in the same spot, and we just wanted to make sure that everything was good. There were like no hunting signs or anything, so we had our shotguns, and we sat there all day, and we walked. It was about almost a half a mile from our spot that we walked down a ridge and an old tram road and to the dirt road, so where our vehicle was. And we got in it, and we just started driving real slow to see if we could see, any deer or anything, with the windows down, doing about 5 miles an hour, just looking. It was really cold. There wasn't any snow on the ground. It was just brisk, and, like the leaves and everything were frozen. We just started going. We probably went about a quarter of a mile, real slow. We're just looking, and this thing just walked out of the woods from the left, going to the right, just feet in front of the truck, just walked right out, could not care whether or not we were there or not. The first thing I noticed was this one step, and it was almost halfway across the road. And it started taking another step, and it turned to look at us, its head, but kind of its body to look our way. And what got me was there was no face. It was this color of black that this thing was. I've never seen it before. It was much darker than what a bear's coat is, but kind of like that black. But it was more intense. And in the face, it was even darker. There was no face. I used to think I just didn't see it. My friend and I did not speak about this. Neither one of us remember driving home, and we're about 25, 30 miles from our home where we hunted at, and neither one of us remember going home or anything the rest of the day. All we said was, "What the hell is that?" And we're just looking, and when it turned to look at us, I tensed up, and this feeling of terror come over me. I couldn't move. I started to shake, and I actually started to sweat profusely. I have no idea why I did that, but this I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. All I could do was look at this thing because there's no face. And the size of this thing, if it wanted to, all it had to do was take a step, and it would be right in front of our truck. And I think the thing could have flipped the truck over if it wanted to, but it just kept walking. The way it was walking, it was kind of like it was just so big. Like if you go to a bar or a club, and you always have this big guy on roids that wants to beat everybody up, and the way they walk, the way this thing was walking. But it just the legs seemed real short. The head, it wasn't real pointy, but it kind of looked like almost if someone had a hoodie on, But make no mistake, this was no man. I've never seen anything this big before in my life. But the color was just the black. I can't describe it. It was just so dark, but the face was even darker. It was imploding on itself on the face.
Wow.
Neither one of us could move. We just sat there, and we watched it, and it covered right to the right side. There's like a bunch of crab apples and things like that, and went into the woods. And this thing walked in about 30 to 45 seconds. It covered almost 100 yards and just kind of disappeared. Not like disappeared, like vanished, but when you're going through the woods, it just the trees and stuff kind of swallow you. But there was crab apples trees the whole way through there, and this thing just walked right through them. And if that was a man, that would cut you to shreds. Those crab apples have thorns and stuff on them, but it walked, and it was like it wasn't even touching the ground. I mean, it was just so smooth. It was weird. I really can't explain. It was just, I don't know, just the way it walked. It's like it shouldn't be that way. That shouldn't be. I don't know. I know it sounds silly, but that wasn't natural. It just, everything about it was just, it wasn't right.
No,
and it just disappeared.
I'm not sure if you heard the episode we did called the Michaud Roar, but Jeff on that episode described a creature in almost the exact same way. I was listening to it recently because I had to write a few of the details down for my book, and he described it as impossibly black. That's what he said. he said it was an absence of light. I think he said it was. Like
yeah, that's it. That's it. I just can't explain to you the color. It's just something that I've never seen before or since, and it's just like it wasn't real. That's how dark this thing was. Not dark, just black. You know, but it's like there was nothing there, but there was something, but I can't explain it. Like, it's like there was something there, like almost like Predator, you know, when I showed it, the kind of jelly-looking thing or see-through thing, you know, I don't know. I can't explain. I don't know how to explain something I don't understand, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I get it.
Paranormal, no ghosts or anything like that. And I read about Bigfoot when I was younger and stuff, but I never had a clue that they were real. You know, if you would have told me before this that you saw one, I would have said, well, yeah, I might have believed you that you thought you saw something, but I would have thought been one of those ones, well, it was a bear or it was something. But
right.
There's no mistaking what this was. You could tell what this was at first glance. Now, we didn't smell anything. We had our windows down. I don't know if that's because of the weather, because it was so cold. It was brisk, you know. But, oh, my gosh, the fear is just unbelievable. It's hard to describe. And, you know, all these years later, not last season, but the season before, like we said earlier, I was out hunting with my oldest boys, and halfway through the day, I just heard this knock. It sounded like Babe Ruth hitting a baseball. That's how loud it was. And I have no idea why, because I've heard that sound before, like somebody could have been just putting on a drive nearby and hitting something, but this was so loud, I had a panic attack, and I could not get out of those woods. I had walkie-talkies. I called my two oldest boys, and I said, my back's hurting. We just got to go. I didn't want to get into it, why I had to get out of there, but I could not get out. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, and all those feelings come back. I just could not get out of the woods fast enough, and you know, I didn't even go back to hunt this year. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. You know, we went back to the spot a few days before that. We finally found it, because it's been a long time, and it's really grown up a lot since I was there. But after a couple hours, we found the exact spot, and I couldn't get out of the truck to go look around. I just couldn't do it. I tried, but I started to shake and everything, and because I really would like to learn more. I thought, well, man, I'd love to see another one, or the same one, or whatever, and just see what this is. And, you know, I've even talked to you before and said, hey, if we go up, you ought to come over and I'll show you exactly where it was. But I don't know if I can do it. I really don't. I couldn't do it then. And I know I'll never go in the woods again without a weapon. Never. I don't care what I'm doing. I will never go in the woods again without a weapon. And I'm not going by myself again either. So that it scarred me, you know. And like I said, I don't know if learning more about this subject and stuff has changed my views on everything. But for the first time in my life, I was afraid to be in the woods, and that really pisses me off, to be honest with you. 'Cause that's gone for me now. Every time I get in the woods, I think about it. That's the first thing that pops into my head. You know, and I go in, and I'm not only looking down for tracks and stuff, I'm looking in trees. And, you know, my sons are like, why are you looking up? And, you know, I've heard people say they looked up and these things are in trees, as hard as that is to believe. And my head's on a swivel. I'm just looking all around, and, you know, every sense is heightened, and, you know, it scares me. It really does. It's really taken what I love the most out of being outdoors. It's kind of taken that away. I'm hoping I'm in Texas now. We're moving back to Pennsylvania this summer. I'm hoping that goes away, you know, because for the last few years and stuff, the only time I've been in the woods is when I go back and I hunt. Before we moved to Texas, I was in the woods all the time, and I never gave that Bigfoot thing a thought or anything until I started listening to different encounters and the horror stories that people said and how close they've come. And it's really made me feel kind of embarrassed because they've been in very bad situations, and all this thing did was walk in front of me and turn around and look at me, and it screwed me up. You know, I mean, most people have had bad encounters and stuff, and a lot worse than me. And I guess I'm not handling it very well. The more I learn, the more I think I have more to be aware of and afraid of, I guess. You know, because this is real. I don't care if anybody believes me or not anymore. I just, from listening to other people and what they say, I'm the same way. I don't care. If someone doesn't believe me, that's fine. Go on about your business. But no one's going to tell me that I saw a 7 to 8 foot bear walking that far, that fast in front of me. If you spent 10 minutes in the woods and seen the bear, you'll know that's nonsense. It looked nothing like a bear. It's something that you have to see, I guess, to understand it, you know, or to realize it. This thing was huge, and it definitely put the fear of God into me.
The gliding motion, the kind of that you describe. Now, Jeff described that as well. He said the creature, he said that was so black, he said it looked like it was cross-country skiing or something. He said it didn't look like it was walking so much. It didn't, in other words, it didn't have an up and down motion, I guess, when it walked.
Yeah, it did. It's really weird, and I don't know how anything. And like I said, this was like the woods were kind of thin, but it was real brushy, and those crab apples. I don't understand how it could walk through that just with no effort, and it didn't move. It just went straight. And I don't understand it, but there was, like you said, there was no up and down, there was nothing side to side or anything. It looked at us, and then it just kept going, like, you know, it noticed us and then just couldn't care less and just kept going like it was on a mission. It had its mind set on going across the road, and it did. But I just can't get over the color and the size, you know. The fear, for some reason, all it did was turn our way, and it wasn't fear; it was terror. I can't explain how scared I was. You know, it was unbelievable. I couldn't move, and when I did look down, my hands were shaking. I couldn't stop. You know, I was sweating again. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, what the heck? And we just left, you know, and we didn't even talk to each other like, hey, you know, could that have been this or could that have been that? We didn't say anything. I thought maybe I just didn't remember. And I talked to my friend Scott, and he said, we didn't say anything. We never talked about it or anything, you know. And he said, but it didn't have a face, did it? And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that, because there was no face. I didn't see a face. And he goes, no, there wasn't. It was just even darker than what it was. That's all it was to it, but it's changed my life. I mean, I just feel like I'm in the Matrix or something, because, you know, everything that I thought was, I can't. You know, when I used to listen to people about paranormal stuff, I say, oh yeah, grain of salt. But now, you know, I feel really embarrassed and ashamed of how closed-minded I was. You know, my wife doesn't believe me. You know, and she's like, that can't be real. And I don't know how to explain to someone. Even my two sons, they just kind of laugh at me and stuff. But I asked them, have I ever lied to you? You know, I'm not making this up. And they just, you know, my oldest son's like, Dad, I just really hope you're wrong, because I don't want to think about that being out there, you know. And that's what I told him. I said, monsters are real. I never thought so, but there's stuff out there that we have no idea, and could be very, very dangerous. You know, I don't want to tempt fate.
The terror, as you say, it kicked in like as it looked at you.
As soon I was fine, I was just like, what the hell is that? And when that thing turned and looked at us, it just something hit me like a Mack truck. I just boom, and it was sheer terror. I don't know why. I didn't know anything about the infrasound or anything. I've never heard of anything like that. I couldn't understand why. As soon as that thing looked at me, I was just in terror. And when I asked my friend about it, years later, he said that he felt the same way. We don't understand why, and I can't explain it. I mean, as soon as the thing looked, boom, and I was done after that. I kind of sat down. I just, what do you do when you see something like that? You're not expecting that, of all things. Oh my gosh!
Right.
How are you supposed to react? I think I was in shock. I mean, I was shaking like, something very traumatic happened to somebody. That's how bad I was shaking. Mm. Wedding, and but we don't remember driving home. We never talked about it, and I don't know why, but I guess a lot of people say they do the same thing. They don't talk about it for a long time.
Now, I know you said there was kind of no definition in the face. It was just too black. Was there any definition in the body? Like, could you see like hair, or was it just all kind of black?
You could tell there was hair on it. And I could see like its fingers. I saw his fingers. That's how close it was. But that's why I didn't think to try to look at his feet or anything like that. But I could see the arms, how much muscle and stuff were on the arms, and the head was kind of weird. It was just, it's almost like if somebody had a hoodie on, but it wasn't a person in a hoodie. It was kind of pointed, but it wasn't pointed. It wasn't round, I should say. It was just a different shape, but didn't come to a point. But it was a little, kind of like a football, like the end of a football or something.
Right.
And it didn't have a neck. I remember that. It's like it was shoulders and the head. I didn't notice a neck, and that's what I was thinking. It's like, look at the size of this thing. And then when it turned, I can't explain to you, but it was so weird. I just wish I had the words to explain what that looked like. It was just so freaky weird, and I don't know. I checked out then. I couldn't believe what I saw, and for some reason, I was like you brace yourself for if you're going to wreck or you're going to get hit or something like that. That's what I was doing. I had my feet on the floor, and I was pushing myself back like I was going to get hit or something.
Wow.
And I just started shaking, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't say anything, and it was just. I started to sweat. I could feel my heart just pounding and pounding. And each time it beat, I could feel it like my heart was going to come out of my chest. And I don't know why that happened that fast, or why I would be terrified. Like I said, when we were hunting, we've had bear come out, just maybe the 250 pound bears. But when they're running full steam and they run, 25 feet or so in front of you, that gets your attention pretty fast, mm-hmm. and it was like, oh, look, there's a bear. And you're kind of ready. Nothing. When this thing, the fear that come over me was just unbelievable. You think you're going to die. That's the only way you can explain it. You think you're going to die.
Wow. You don't remember going home after this? Is very, very interesting.
No.
Do you know if there's any missing time? In other words, do you remember if you got home about the time you thought you were going to get home?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember anything. The next day, I remember getting up and getting ready for church, and I don't remember anything that night or anything. All I remember was my alarm went off, and I was going to get up to get a shower to go to church. I don't remember going home. I don't know what I did when I got home. I haven't talked to my friend to see if he remembers anything. It's been a long time ago, but I don't remember anything. And after something like that I never even thought about it until I heard different people say their encounters, that they didn't talk about it and they don't remember a lot of things. But I don't remember the drive home. And we, like I said, we had to go 7 to 10 miles on these back roads just to get onto Route 66. You know, so it took us a while just to get onto a highway. I don't remember anything. Anything.
That's very, very interesting, because that has been coming up more with Bigfoot reports. Now, people think like missing time is a UFO thing, you know. But, well, I mean, if you took like even Wes's encounter, Wes has several hours which are unaccounted for when he tells his encounter. He'll say, "Oh, we got home much later than we thought we were. Like, we must have been up there a lot longer." That's missing time. There's several unaccounted for hours of his experience. But there's several others too. It's not just his, it's not just yours. You know, I don't know what that is. Now, certainly, if it scared you that much, you could have been in shock, for whatever reason, you just maybe not remember it. But it is very interesting. It's just such an interesting detail to add that you just don't even remember getting home, or because you would think if it was let's say you and I are out in the woods and we see, let's not even say a Bigfoot. Let's say we see a cougar. We see a cougar. Right, and on the way home, we're probably going to talk about that. Oh wow, I can't believe we saw that. You know, they're not supposed to be in Pennsylvania, even though they are. But well, it's an unusual thing to see, and we would talk about. So you would think that you would have discussed it a little bit with your friend on the way home, and you'd have some memory of that. It's just a very strange detail on top of of course, a very strange sighting anyway, that I find very, very interesting.
And I'll tell you something else. I didn't realize until I went back after listening to the podcast and reading on different encounters and stuff. I asked my friend, I said, "I don't remember going back there to hunt." He said, "You know what?" He said, "I was thinking, we didn't hunt there that year, and we've never hunted there since." And he said, "I don't know why, but he said, I remember we hunted right by his house. We didn't know, and we've hunted up there for years. His family hunted up there for a long time, 15, 20 years. But we never went back went back in 2017. Never been back." And he said, I've never thought about it until you and I started, when you asked me, how come we never mentioned it again, except for one time at work, somebody that said that they've had some encounter. We used to work together at a window factory, and when he asked me, he goes, "Ask Morris what we saw up in Truittsburg," and I just said I didn't see anything, and I kept walking, and that probably was like 90, 95, 96, something like that, and until I started listening to podcasts, and I asked him the one year I went home to hunt, I said, "What, we stopped hunting up there." And he said, "I was thinking about that. We didn't even go back there the following Monday to hunt, and we haven't been back there since." And it never dawned on me, because this is like a hunter's paradise. I mean, there's game everywhere. It's just beautiful. There's spots in there that you would think you're in like Washington with the big trees, and California and stuff. And it's just beautiful. I never realized we never went back. That was the last time we were there, until I went back in 2017. But I could not bring myself to get out of the car or the truck. As soon as I found the exact spot, I went to open the door, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And my son's like, "You came all this way. We've been talking about this for 6 months. You're not even going to get out?" I said, I can't. I just can't do it. And, my son said, "This is the first time I've ever seen you scared." He said, "You're shaking, Dad." And I realized that I was shaking. And there's no reason for me to be shaking. There was nothing scary. It was probably like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We were just out for a little ride. I wanted to find a spot. I couldn't go out couldn't get out. So we just went home. And then later on that week when we were hunting, I heard that someone hit a tree. I heard that knock, but it was so loud, it sounded like somebody hitting a baseball at a ballpark. And I went in full panic attack. I could not get out of those woods fast enough. Every time I took a step, I could feel my heart just bang, bang, bang.
Wow.
And I was scared. And that's never happened to me before. I used to coon hunt when I was a kid in cemeteries and stuff like that, and I never gave it a second thought. I've been lost in the woods at night and couldn't find my way out till daylight, and never, not once was I afraid. I mean, sometimes you think, oh my gosh, you look at all the tombstones and, you know, you're like, oh, this is not good, you know, but nothing like this. I mean, I just, it's like I thought I was going to die. I had to get out of the woods. I couldn't breathe. I could hear my heart. I could feel it just bang, bang, bang. I had to get out of those woods. I thought I was going to die. Well, I just kept thinking that there's something behind me. There's something behind me. And I couldn't bring myself to look. And I know there wasn't. I mean, I didn't hear anything. But I had about a quarter of a mile to go to get to the truck. I could not wait. You know, I'm 55, and my 32-year-old son, I beat his ass to the truck. I mean, I was moving. In fact, I left my backpack there. I said, leave it. I don't care.
Wow.
Yeah, I was terrified. I was like, I got to get out. And my kids were like, what is wrong with you? You've never done this before. And I haven't. I just said, well, my back's hurting. It's like, why are you shaking? It's like, it's just time to go. Let's go.
It sounds like, and you know, being in, not a psychologist, but it seems like you kind of put it away, and you were fine with it, you know, as long as you could kind of put it away. Like you said, the guy asked you at work, and you said you didn't see it. I didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
And you put it away, and you were fine hunting, and then, like, the two times, like, when you hear the wood knock, it was enough to remind you. And when you went back to the place, it was enough to remind you. Yeah. And it's like it all came flooding back, you know.
Yeah. When I heard that knock, Tim, I could see that thing's face, and that fear came back to me, and I was done. I just had to get out of those woods. That all those emotions and stuff came right back, just like that day. I could not get out. I just had to get out of there. I thought I was going to die. You know, and that was the last day I hunted. Like I said, I didn't even go back this year. So, you know, I kind of made an excuse like this or that, but I just wasn't ready. You know, I think I pushed myself too much with all this. Like I think I'd have been all right if I didn't go back to that spot. Once I couldn't get that out of my head once I went to that spot. You know, it kind of consumed me, and you know, it was like 3 days back. We went to hunt, and I couldn't get out of my head. All I could see was that thing, and things running through my mind, and different people's encounter, how they barely made it alive and stuff, and all that just came. You know, I was just so scared. I had to get out of there.
Yeah, you
know,
I understand.
People do need to talk about it. I mean, when people talk about their encounters, even if it sounds far-fetched, because now I believe anything's possible. You know, I don't discredit anybody because, you know, what I saw is what I saw, and most people don't believe me. I'm up to the point now, I don't care. I'm not trying to make friends on it or anything like that. I know what I saw and how it's affected me, and, you know, I really enjoy listening to other people because I feel for them. I know what it's like. You know, you get laughed at, and you're called a liar, and this and that, and it's kind of tough, you know. And you're not going to make money on it. You're not going to be famous or just by telling your story, you know. And it's like I don't have anything to gain. I know I sound like an idiot, but this is really what happened. I wouldn't make all this stuff up. This is what happened, and I can't explain it. You know, like Wes always asks, what do you think it is? I have no idea. And it seems like the more I hear and the more I learn, the less I know about this. Because, oh my gosh, so much more to this that we're not even close. I don't know if we could just comprehend it.
Yeah, I that's exactly where I am. And for me, you know, I've seen something, but I can't tell you what it was. I saw something big, and it was moving away from me. But I really can't tell you what it was. And the other thing I think I saw, it was man-sized, and it was white or light gray. If you told me that was a ghost, I couldn't argue. You know what I mean? If somebody said, "Oh, you just saw a ghost," I can't, because I didn't see hair or anything. It was just solid color, light white gray. But in reading people's encounters, and of course, and writing about it and so forth, the more I find out, the more sure I am that it's just not. I don't even know if I want to go so far and say, it can't be natural. It has to be supernatural. It's paranormal in as much as we don't understand it. It's not normal. But I can say absolutely it's whatever. It's not a normal animal. Like, it can't just be an ape. You know what I mean? It can't be like an undiscovered monkey. It's not. There's no way.
Exactly. There's something much more to this.
Yeah.
And
there is a reason why you had that fear experience. Now, whether it was just because it was so unusual, and just something that you never expected to see, that I guess that's possible. But, like listening to Wes's show, there's guys who are veterans who've been to war, and they've seen some horrible stuff, and they said that, that they were never as scared as when they encountered these things. That's an intense fear, Yeah, it is. And I really think there's so much more that people won't tell. Like in your book, Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, I lived in Pennsylvania. You have reports from there, like in the 70s, and that's where I lived. And there's some beautiful hunting grounds and stuff like that there too. And even I lived in Armstrong County. You have reports from there, and I showed my son the book when I went home. I said, "Look at this. This is amazing. This is in Cadogan. This is right down from where you live." I said, "This has been going on for a long time." And my oldest son's like, "I hunt down here," and he said, but I've never seen one. I said, "Me either, till that day. I mean, you couldn't convince me that was true." Right.
But, until it's standing in front of you, then you realize you don't know shit. Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
You don't know anything. And it just changes you. It has me. It's got me thinking. People say they see lights and things like that, and I don't doubt it. I don't know what the lights mean. I don't know what anything means, but there's something so much more than just a stupid ape running through the woods. There's something, I don't know if it's evil or what, but I really believe now that it does have that infrasound, because the thing just turned our way, and both of us had sheer terror. And neither one of us had it until it looked our way. And it hit you like a ton of bricks.
Mm.
I was braced, and I was back against the seat, and my feet were locked on the floorboards and things, and then I started to shake. I couldn't talk. I could barely breathe, and I just watched it, and it just, as fast as it was there, it was just gone. But there's something. Both of us didn't have that fear come over us at the exact same time for no reason. That you can't. I don't believe that was coincidence.
Right.
At the time, I didn't know anything about infrasound or Bigfoot, stuff like that. But there's a reason why that hit both of us at the same time, and both of us had the feeling like this could be it. There's a reason for that. I don't know what it is, and I can't explain it, but that isn't a coincidence. Not that kind of terror that come over you.
I mean, I would even say I don't think it's a coincidence that it walked out when it did. Because if we think of these things as natural animals, their greatest strength has to be their ability to hide, which means it would have known that the truck was coming. It would have heard it. It would have seen you guys, and it would have, it chose to let you see it, is what I feel like, for whatever reason. Now, I don't know what the reason for that is, but if these things are as good as they are in the woods, and we can assume they are, then it would certainly know a truck's coming in and would know, like, all it would have to know is to wait, or stay hidden till you passed, and then it could have gone behind you. You never saw it.
Yeah. If it would have walked out in front of us, we'd have saw it. We'd have never saw it. I mean, and we were both looking and stuff. That's how close this thing was to the front of our vehicle. I mean, it was just boom, it was coming onto the road. And if it would have stayed still, I don't think we'd have even saw it, because both of us were kind of watching the right side, because, like I said, there were crab apples. It was kind of like a little opening in the woods, and that's where we thought maybe the deer would be coming down to feed and things like that. We were kind of watching that, and I just happened to. You can't miss it. Something 7-8 foot tall and that big. I thought the thing weighed about 400 pounds. But my buddy said it's more like 5 or 6. So like I said, I have no idea. At that time, I didn't think about weight or anything like that. I just know this massive thing come walking out, and it just, the fear, I know I keep going back to it, but that's what's in my mind, is how fast that fear hit me. And it's really affected me now. Now that I'm talking about it and stuff like that, when I went back in the woods, I can't believe that I got scared, especially in the woods. I had a 30-06 with me, and 357 on the side, but it could have been a BB gun. I didn't even think about the gun. All I was thinking about was getting out of the woods. And when we first saw this thing, we had shotguns sitting right beside us. They weren't loaded or anything, but if, two guys who don't know anything about Bigfoot see something like that walk in front, you'd think, you'd at least have a feeling that you were safe because you had two shotguns right there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Even though two 12 gauges and, no slugs or anything, you don't have a prayer. You just don't have a prayer. But we didn't know anything about that, but it never dawned on us to grab guns or anything like that. It just, it was just amazing. I don't know how to describe it. You don't expect anything like that to come out, and then it just changes everything,
So after,
but for a long time, there was nothing. We didn't. I didn't talk about it. I didn't think about it. But now that I go back and I think, he said, I don't remember driving home once, because I lived like 8 miles from where my buddy lived. I don't remember driving home. I don't remember getting home, going to bed or anything. I just know the alarm went off for me to go to church the next day.
Wow. So after all these years, what made you start talking about it?
I stumbled across podcasts, and then I bought this guy's book that said Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, and I read it, and I was fascinated. Close to home where I lived, that you had, encounters and things, and the more I read, the more I wanted to read. They were getting ready for the election year, and I was just so tired of hearing about politics and everything. It's like, I just need a break. I don't even want to listen to the radio anymore. And so I just stumbled across podcasts. I don't even know Bigfoot, but it did, and I was hooked, and like I said, I bought your books, and I read them. I said, this is crazy. And I didn't feel so out of place when I was reading the books and listening to other people's encounters, and I got to admit, like when I first started listening and stuff, I'm thinking lights and UFOs. I was like, oh, come on, really? But then I started thinking, what the heck am I talking about? This thing didn't have a face. There's got to be a reason for it. Then I heard about infrasound. It's like, is that what hit us? Because I didn't know anything about infrasound or anything like that. I didn't know anything. But now I can't rule any of that stuff out. I don't know enough about any of it. But I'm pretty sure that, that's what hit us. Mm-hmm. It has to. It just has to be. And I can't explain any of it. I can just, try to say what happened, and I don't know, and it seems like the more I find out, the less I know. the more I find out about this and the lights and things like that, the more I realize there's so much more to this than an animal or just lights, or I don't know if they're connected, but I think they have to be. I really do. I've never seen lights or anything like that. I've never seen ghosts, but after seeing this thing walk in front of us, I believe now. I believe there's more. You know, there's a lot more, and I don't have a clue to whatever it is, or you know, I know I don't judge anybody anymore. I don't discard what somebody says, no matter how far-fetched it is, because it's happened to me. You know, like I told my kids, I can't explain to you exactly what happened because I don't know what happened. With the face and the color, you know, I haven't heard anybody else explain that they, you know, like say that they've had something close to it. I feel kind of out of place even in talking about Bigfoot, because nobody's said anything about, I haven't heard anything about color, how dark it was, or there not being a face. Everybody's describing details on the face, and it's like, but the one that I saw, it had no face. It's not that I couldn't see it. There was no face there. There was just kind of like emptiness, but it wasn't like hollow. I know that sounds really contradictory, but it was hollow, but I can't explain it. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I can't explain it. I know it sounds crazy, but I just can't.
Well, that's what Jeff, again from the Michelle Rohr, he described his very similarly, and he in fact was like kind of hesitant to even say it was a Bigfoot. He said it was upright and it was hunched over and it had that kind of gliding walk to it, but he just kept saying, I don't know what I saw. It was just black. It was black. He was, like I said, he said it was impossibly black with an absence of light. So, I mean, that, as far as like what you said and you've seen, that sounds very similar to me. Like,
yeah,
Jeff's account.
That's it. That's the words that I don't have, and he's exactly right from what I saw. That's the closest I've heard, and even that I could explain. That's pretty much what I saw.
And that was his first encounter. He didn't even see it. He got howled at, and he wouldn't go back. He wouldn't go back for a long time. He said it was I forget if it was years or. I know it was a long time, he told me. And he was interested in Bigfoot. He was kind of out there looking for it. He got howled at. Roared is what he says. He's very emphatic that it was a roar. And he wouldn't go back then. He was done for a number of years. Now, he went back with me to the area he got roared at. And, he's interested in the topic, but I think it really kind of dampened. I think he was spending a lot of time out there looking for Bigfoot. And I think once that happened, it kind of dampened his passion a little bit, but he's still interested in it, but I think he's not as gung-ho as he used to be.
And I've met, just on the phone and through Facebook and stuff like that, I met a lot of great people, very nice, that, like Randy Harrington, we were talking, how to tell you, Tim, having you send me some things, and I didn't think I was so far, losing my mind and everything. It was nice to have somebody talk to you that, that has talked to people. I talked to Watts and Tony, and you reading the books and stuff have really helped me.
Okay.
And the Bigfoot in Pennsylvania got me interested, but just I don't know how you got all that information, but to me that was fascinating, that there's so many encounters, and this is all, this was all public record and stuff, well, most of it, right? And and it was close to home, it was close to where I live.
Well, that's what shocked me. Like when I first started getting into it, I was like, I thought maybe I'd find a couple in Pennsylvania. I knew there was some. Like I remember reading some, but I just thought, well, this happens in the Northwest. This doesn't happen here, except maybe rarely. And then I found so many. That's what really kind of got me into it. I was like, wow, there's so much here.
Yeah, that really helped me, and it even helped my friend. I told him, you got to buy this book. He bought the book, and we're just amazed at how how many encounters and how often it was. Especially there was a lot like in the 70s in my hometown, and after reading it, I almost remember like being. I think I was just maybe going into junior high, and I can almost, maybe it's in my head, but I can almost remember people talking about it, like an article in the paper or something like that, about some sightings and people talking about, other kids talking about that they saw Bigfoot, But it was really eye-opening, and you've done a great job on your books. They're fabulous.
Oh, thanks so much.
I have them all. I can't wait for the next one.
Next one's going to be something. There's already people in the Bigfoot world who are kind of anxious about it. They haven't read a word of it, and they're already trying to put it down.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because we're talking about all the weird stuff. We're not pulling punches. There's very famous cases like the Ape Canyon case, which people report, and they'll report that as just like creatures. But there's so much weird stuff that surrounds that. A lot of weird stuff.
I believe it.
That surrounds that case. And bless him, Ron Moorhead recently has started talking about more of the weird stuff, but he didn't for years. He kind of kept his mouth shut about that. And the guy that went up there with him, Al Berry, though, he wrote a book in 1970, and it's just full of weird stuff, like three-toed footprints and UFOs and weird sounds coming from the ground and all this stuff. And he was right up there with Ron. Again, he wrote that book in 1976. So, and of course, Stan Gordon from Pennsylvania, he's been talking about this stuff. So it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there. But
my hometown is Kittanning, Pennsylvania. And that's like 35 miles west of Indiana, and I'm like 45 miles north of Pittsburgh. And I had no idea, that there was so much going on in Indiana County and even Allegheny County towards Pittsburgh. Really? That close to Pittsburgh? But, there are spots where there's, the woods get very thick, and they don't have to be thick, but there's just spots where it's scarcely populated,
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've seen, these things are just masters of hide and seek. Like I said, if this thing wouldn't have walked out in front of us, we'd have never saw it.
Right. Which again, it makes me say, like, it, for whatever reason, it wanted you to see it, and it knew, and it wanted you to see it because it could have waited. It could have waited till you drove by and walked right behind you and never seen it. That combined with the fear response and the missing time is really a concerning thing. And not to put any more fear into your account already, but I'm just saying that to me is like a real oddity that I think in the past, Bigfoot investigators, they were kind of looking over that stuff. They either didn't want to hear it or they would just kind of put it to the side. Like they don't want to hear about all that, the other stuff. They want to hear about the creature, and that's that.
Yeah.
But it's these other things that are, I think, going to help us kind of, I don't know if we'll ever figure it out. I really don't, but it'll help us get closer to what it is. And like I said, I don't think it's a regular animal. Well, Mo, thanks so much for sharing your stories.
Oh, I really appreciate it. You're doing a great job.
Hopefully, with all this, we can put our heads together. And like I said, I don't know that we get to solve it, but maybe we can get closer and figure out a little bit something else about what's going on with these things.
Yeah, well, like I told you, the invitation still stands. When I go back, if you ever come to the western part, I will take you to the site. And maybe with you there, I'll go. I'm going to be armed, though. I know you said you don't take anything, but to be honest with you, I think if we shot at one, you're signing that one.
I agree 100%. I don't think that's a very good idea at all. From all the reports I've read, it doesn't turn out well. There's been a couple guys that said they dropped him, and I'm going to go ahead and believe him. But for the most part, they don't. And a lot of times they keep on coming after you pull the trigger. Yeah. And that's got to be truly terrifying.
I'm thinking to myself, as bad as I was shaking the first time, if I see another one, I don't think that I'm going to be sturdy enough to take a shot at anything, I'll probably just stand there and cry like a little girl, That's probably what I'm going to do. You know, but I think if I had, you know, somebody with me that knows a little bit about this, I would love to try anyway to go out and just look around. You know, like I said, if this thing wanted to do anything to us, we're 15 feet away. It could have done anything it wanted, but it didn't. It just kept going. You know, and I think I don't know. Like I said, I think if it's just a chance sighting like that, I think you'd be all right. And it seems like they often give you warnings if they want you to leave. You know, and if I hear something, you know, just let me know which way you're running, because I'll run over your ass on the way out of the woods. I have no problem tripping, Tim.
That's no problem. I've got MS and I use a walking stick, so I'm probably pretty good bait. So you can probably beat me out of the woods.
Well, I'm like 270 pounds, so we're going to be dinner. But yeah, you know, like I said, if you're ever out there, and if once I get back, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to, you know, I could take a trip out there if you guys are ever doing anything, and you know, just to say hello and.
Oh yeah, well, I love
stories.
I love going on site. I love seeing. Even if it's years later, I met somebody out at Michaud Forest, and it's been, I think, probably 30 years or something since they had their experience. I love, you know, seeing where it happened. It just gives you the idea of, you know, where everything happened, and
yeah,
you know, just.
And that's what I was thinking. I can show you, like you have in there, the Eshnos farm, and I think it's Cadogan, right in Cadogan, that there was a sighting in the 70s. I've been past that 100 times. I can show you exactly where the farm is.
Yeah.
And in Worthington, I can take you right in Worthington, and you can see probably where they had sightings and things like that. You know, Jack Lambert lived right down the road from where I lived in Worthington, and it's all wooded, you know, and it's hard to tell, you know, what you're going to see, but. I can, now that I know what to, you know, I've often seen trees that were bent over and things like that, and I've seen like the stick structures and things, but I never gave it a thought. But after reading, you know, books and stuff like that, it comes back. It's like, I've seen that before.
Right.
I have. I've seen that, and I've been in the woods, and where, you know, people may have been, but you're not going to go there unless you're hunting or something. There's no reason. You're not going to go there to party because it's just woods. And there's a lot of other places that someone, if they're going to go party, that's where they're going to go. I've seen rocks piled up. I've seen that before. And, you know, and like I said, the trees that were bent over and stuff, I've seen that. I haven't seen like real massive ones, but I always wondered, and I was always told that Native Americans used to do that, and bend the trees to point to water or something like that. But I didn't know what I was looking at, but I have seen that. And, you know, once I get back and get out in the woods with my kids and stuff a little bit, if I see any of that, I'll take pictures and I'll send it to you. And if you ever come over, I'll take you and show you. But I can definitely show you some spots in your books where you have in there that there were encounters or there were news articles. I can show you where those spots are in your book.
Awesome. Yeah, I love doing that. Yeah, let me know when you get back. I'll come out. I love to do it. I'm not terribly far. It's a few hours, but
yeah,
that's not too bad.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome.
It'll be fun.
Well, thanks again, Mo. Thanks for telling your story.
Sure thing. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to get your next book.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back next week with another episode of Strange Familiars, and next week is March, so we should have early in March, I don't know if it'll be next week, but very early in March, we will have a new patron show, which is on a pretty interesting topic.
Yeah, a listener suggested. I had not heard this story before, and a listener in England suggested it, and it was completely right up my alley, and
I know you've been doing research on it since I forwarded you the email.
yeah.
We have at least one photo to go with it, right? To go with the story, and a lot of cool information. So that'll be the patron show, the first patron show for March. I want to thank Eric C., who gave us a PayPal donation from that paypal.me link.
Thanks, Eric C.
Every bit helps. Thank you very much. Oh, there's a Strange Familiars book club now.
You've made Oprah level. You've attained the Oprah level of fame.
I had nothing to do with this. This is completely set up by people on the Strange Familiars gathering list or group on Facebook. They came up with the idea. They put it together. They voted on the first book, and because they're very, very nice, they chose one of my books as the first book.
Oh, that's cool.
I did not suggest that. I did not lobby for that. I swear I didn't. But it's it's very, very sweet of them to choose. They chose Bigfoot, West Coast Wildman as the first book for the Strange Familiars book club.
Oh.
So, which I'm not sure they're calling it the Strange Familiars book club. They're call it whatever you want, guys. I'm fine with that. I'm so happy. It seems like it's such an organic thing. It just kind of sprung up. Somebody said, "Hey, why don't we do a book club thing where we read a book every month?" It's just a really cool thing. It's just organically sprang up in the Strange Familiars group. So, if you want to be a part of that, hop on into the Strange Familiars group on Facebook. Strange Familiars is a production of Dark Holler Arts, music, books, art, podcasts, and more. darkhollerarts.com. Intro and background music is by Stone Breath. Go to stonebreath.bandcamp.com for more. And we are on Facebook. Facebook.com/strangefamiliars, and check out the Strange Familiars Gathering group.
It will come to pass, and will live in harmony with himself and with his fellow man. Society in which every man is trusted with the right of governing himself.